basically, I've been wanting to do a video about immigration for ages. There's two subjects that I've wanted to do videos about for ages that I've not done, which is one, immigration, and two, inheritance. And I've avoided doing them because they are such contentious issues and they're so serious. And I feel like if you do them, you better do them f***ing well, basically. And I really want to do a video on immigration because I see it becoming like a bigger and bigger issue. But I feel like it's such an important video that I don't want to f*** it up, basically. And I feel like, because I'm tired, I just feel like I don't have the energy to do it like the justice that it deserves. But obviously we've got the election coming up now. We're talking about, we did our election video, right? We put it out like, I guess maybe like a week or two ago. And we didn't talk about the rise of reform. Another thing we didn't really talk about is the fact that the Conservatives could possibly get pumped so hard in this election that they drop down into third or fourth place. They probably won't, but it's definitely possible. And, of course, we have this two-party system, which makes it like almost impossible to like replace the top two parties. And the top two parties have been the top two parties for like 100 years when like Labour replaced the Liberals or whatever. And to be honest, I think it's a stupid system. I think proportional representation is a better system. I think when you have this two-party system like what we've got now, you can get this kind of stupid situation where both the parties are basically completely shit and like you've got no choice but to vote for them. But also it's undemocratic, really, because all of the power is within the parties. Like you only have two choices, they're kind of similar, really. Like all of the power is not really within the people. The power, look at Rishi Sunak, like, people voted in Boris Johnson, they kicked him out. The party members voted in Theresa May. They kicked her, sorry, not Theresa May, Liz Truss. They kicked her out. And then the MPs are like, well, here's Rishi Sunak, here's the guy we want. It's really undemocratic, right? But, so I guess there's something kind of sexy and kind of something exciting about, well, we can actually kick out one of these two major parties. And, I get excited about that. I think that, to be completely honest, I think the Conservatives are basically totally bought by the very rich. And I just think like our campaign to reduce inequality, I don't think we're going to get anything under them. Don't get me wrong, like we need to be willing to be flexible. And if the Conservatives became like a meaningful vehicle for it, you have to use what you can, but like you can't see it happening, right? So it's exciting to see them getting like smashed. But then like when you see like the growing sentiment we see in the YouTube comments, which is the problem is immigration, the problem is immigration, the problem is immigration. You see Nigel Farage coming back, the growth of the Reform Party. It's hard to even be excited about the Conservatives being smashed because if that happens, they might get replaced by Reform. Nigel Farage might take over the Conservative Party, and it's just really hard to see anything happening other than a new right-wing alternative coming up that is more anti-immigration, that is more xenophobic, that could over time potentially become more racist, right? So it's hard for me to even be excited about something that I would have liked to be excited about, which is the demise of the Conservative Party. So look, let's just talk about this immigration thing. I haven't got like a prepped video, right? The reason I struggle to talk about it is because I know, first things first, right? The target audience for this channel, nobody's excluded from this channel, but this channel for me is about connecting with just ordinary people. Ordinary people who feel like they are not being spoken to by economists on the news. They don't understand what those guys are saying. They're not being represented. Nobody's on their side. That's what I want, So, you're talking about, basically people who might not have a degree in economics from Cambridge or whatever. But of course, it's also a campaign to raise tax on the very rich, to reduce inequality, to improve living standards. And for that reason, we've always had like a lot of support from the political left and the people who like first sort of help, one of the first people who ever like helped me like grow my profile was, Grace Blakely, who's an economist on the political left. And of course, like a lot of our early growth came from Novara, which is like a big political left channel, right? So even though I don't see myself as talking to the political left, like we've had a lot of support from the political left, right? And a lot of the media and people like Nigel Farage and of course people like increasingly people in the Conservative Party, they use immigration as a wedge issue, right? So we should explain what a wedge issue is, right? A wedge issue is when a political group sees an issue which divides their opponents from the general public. And the Conservatives know that a lot of the political left hates anything that's anti-immigration. But they know that a lot of ordinary people think immigration is too high. In particular, a lot of ordinary people think that the reason why they can't get a house and the reason why they can't get a well-paid job is because of immigration. And you can understand why they think that, right? Like there was a piece on the news, Sky News, so like totally mainstream news the other day, Sky News, housing crisis and immigration. And it's a really simple narrative to make, right? Which is these guys are coming over, they're living in houses, you need houses, they compete with you for houses, they compete with you for jobs, they're bringing your wages down, they're pushing house prices up, right? So ordinary people who are struggling are being told these things. You can understand why they're becoming anti-immigration, right? Because life is getting hard. The most, for most people, the most obvious thing is getting a house or getting a job. These are like some of the most obvious problems. And they're being told the reason you can't do that is because of immigration, right? I don't personally think the primary reason my life is getting harder is because of immigration, right? I think the primary reason that life is getting harder is because of this growing inequality. But this is what people are being told, right? People are being told it's immigration, and it's... My voice is a lot less loud than these other voices, right? These other voices like pushing against immigration. And the truth of the matter is, I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to stop ordinary people who are being told the reason that they can't afford a house, the reason they can't get a good job is because of foreigners. I don't know how to stop them from believing that. And I'm very, very confident that the economic situation will get worse because the inequality will get worse. And, we're going to get a Labour government that is not going to deal with inequality. They're not going to successfully stop the fall in living standards. And people are going to want something new, right? Like, you can see, right, the Conservative Party has basically lost almost completely economic credibility at this point, right? So we've got a Labour government, okay, you're second in charge. What are you going to do? They're not going to fix it, right? They're not going to fix it. So then people are going to be like, all right, who's next? And it's really, really obvious who's next here. It's really obvious who is next in line. It is Nigel Farage, and it is reduce immigration, it's stop immigration. And I don't think that those guys will win, but you can see them taking over, right? You can see them taking over, and I don't fucking know what to do about it, basically. I don't know what to do about it. And you can see it divide the sort of ordinary people from the political left, and I can see that the political left is, a lot of it is going to try and hang to like, no, whatever you do, don't. They're going to consider they have a moral need to protect the immigrants, right? And then that's going to divide them more, and then the left's going to die, right? And then the right's going to come in and they're going to try to reduce immigration, but that's not actually going to fix the living standards problem because it's not the actual cause of the problem. So they're going to say, well, we need to go further. You know what I mean? And it's really hard for me not to be reminded of what happened in the early 20th century. And, people in the comments, you're not talking about immigrants, you're not talking about immigrants, you're talking about immigrants. I don't know what to say to them. What do I say to them? Because I don't think that is the problem. But then you see people on the political left, and I think often, sometimes the political left has a kind of a condescending, sneering attitude towards these people. And these people are struggling to pay the bills, and they're being told it's because of the immigrants. You know what I mean? We need to offer them something. We need to offer them an alternative. We need to offer them an alternative. And I've been trying to build like a political coalition on the left of like, let's make inequality the big thing. Let's make inequality the big thing. And I've been failing. It's fucking hard, basically. But I think we'll put this one out after the election one. I just want to say, like, to the people who think it's because of the immigrants, like, I understand why you're saying that, and I understand like life is hard, but You know, I don't think that's the cause. You know, I don't think that's the cause. And that doesn't mean that I think we should have more immigration. And it doesn't mean I don't think that we should have less immigration. I think listen, I want to tax rich people, right? The rich are getting richer and richer and richer and richer. Ordinary living standards are collapsing. I want to tax rich people. The rich don't want that. And you can see living standards collapsing and you want something. They have to offer you something, right? They're offering you, let's kick out the immigrants, right? And they're going to offer that more and more. And it's happened again and again throughout history, right? It's happened again and again throughout history. That inequality rises, living standards fall, and the rich, the easiest thing for them to do is to sell you a scapegoat. They can sell you a scapegoat, and then they can use that to divide the working class. And, you know, I'm talking to you here from Britain. The working class is very multiracial, you know. My grandma was an immigrant, you know what I mean? Like, this could be used to very effectively divide the working class and make them hate each other. And if that happens, we're fucked. We're totally fucked. And I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to stop it, you know. All I can do is keep saying what the real cause is and keep offering my alternative. And I think if you manage to reduce inequality, if you redistribute away from the very rich towards working people, cut working people's taxes, we can have much higher levels of living standards. Ordinary people can afford their own homes, like my dad did, like my friends' dads did, who were themselves immigrants and came over with nothing. I think the problem is inequality, and I'm honestly, I'm really worried. I'm really worried that the left's not going to get its act together. It's not going to centralise inequality. The right is going to drive a massive wedge between the left and the general public, and that the left will not win an election, and we end up with increasingly xenophobic governments which veer towards eventually racism. And, you know, look at history, and that's not because I love immigrants, that's not because I hate immigrants. That is, you know, I hope that people can see that is my clear-eyed economic analysis. And I've got no skin in the game on this, you know what I mean? You know, I'm obviously a white person here in Britain, you know, when the immigrants get kicked out, they probably won't come for me, you know what I'm saying? This can really effectively divide the working class, and I'm worried about it. So I'll still be happy if Jacob Rees-Mogg loses his seat though, but there's bigger battles to fight, and we need to be united, and if we can't unite across things like race and ethnic origin, they're trying to divide us on other lines as well, gender, age, whether you're from London or whether you're from the north, whether you're in a house or not. If we're divided, we'll lose. And we can't allow it to happen. And I wish I had easier ways. I wish I knew how to stop it, but I'll just keep doing what I do, and I hope it works. And that's all we can do.
What's that one thing Labour could do when they win? Labour are going to win. Like, what can they do in power to stop a kind of rise of...
Labour need to fix the economic problem. But I'll tell you one thing I think we could do from a comms perspective. I think we need better class representation. We need better class representation on TV. We need better class representation because I grew up in London. I grew up in a very, very immigrant area. You know what I mean? It's a very Pakistani area I grew up, you know. The kids I grew up with who come from Pakistani families, okay, their religious background is different, their cultural background is different. They've got the exact same economic problems as my fucking sister, you know what I mean? Can't afford the rent, can't afford to buy a house, can't get a decent wage. Economically, we're facing the same problems, you know. You know, the white working class and the non-white working class face exactly the same economic problems, you know. And we need to put working class people, and it's not just about race, it's about age, it's about gender, it's about whether you're from London, whether you're from the north, you know. We need to put these people together. We need to and show show, listen, these people who might have different backgrounds and different identities in other ways have the same economic problems. Because we need, you know, the working class is very multi-ethnic, and it is, you know, it's older people and younger people, and it's people from London, and it's people from fucking Grimsby, and people from Glasgow, people from the countryside, you know, it's like, we need to be, I think we need to be, and you know, I would like to do it more on this channel if we, you know, and we struggle for time, and we struggle for my energy, but I would love to get working class people from different backgrounds, older people, younger people, you know, together on this channel and put them forward. But Labour need to fix the economic problem, you know, and we need to make it more about class, you know. We need to make it more about class, because if we allow ourselves to be divided on things like race, and it'll be other things as well. I mean, age is a massive dividing factor in British politics. Massive divide. It's not just race. But you know, this is one thing. Everybody watching can do that. Can be like, listen, can I try to bridge those divisions rather than build those divisions? And it's not always easy, but it's something that we have to do.